Good morning, Shabbat Shalom. Very happy to begin by welcoming our new emissary from Israel, Lior Yogev, who just began. Our community has been blessed with incredibly wonderful emissaries, shlichim, shlichot from Israel, and just met Lior officially yesterday, and she's amazing and totally unsurprising. So very glad to be able to welcome you to Adat Shalom. So in 1964, a music critic wrote, "Visually, they are a nightmare. Tight, dandified Edwardian beatnik suits and great pudding bowls of hair. Musically, they are a near disaster, guitars and drums slamming out a merciless beat that does away with secondary rhythms, harmony, and melody." And he was writing, of course, about the debut of the Beatles on the Ed Sullivan Show. Now, this was in '64, where they were wearing suits and ties, and their hair was a little longer than the buzz cut. But I think they were called mop tops at the time. And I think about just how very judgmental of people we can be just based on what they wear, how they choose to ornament themselves. I will tell you firsthand, I had my ear pierced 41 years ago because I wanted to. I had wanted it earlier, but I was living at home, and then I wasn't. But people would ask me, "What does it mean?" It means I like it. But what does it mean? Because depending if it was the left ear or the right ear, one was considered to be more socially acceptable than the others. What I eventually told them was, "I'm a pirate. You got me. I hid my ship somewhere." But I got a lot of grief from it. In fact, one friend's mother tried to pull it out, which I did not appreciate. But after I became a rabbi, I didn't wear it too much around town. Mostly on vacation. It never closed up. And in 2018, there were two things that convinced me just to wear it full time. And by the way, just as a heads up, I'm getting another one soon. So just, if you'd like to be pre-irritated, I'm just giving you giving you some time. So in 2018, my father died. But I also saw a movie that I did a talk back for about older adults who finally embraced who they were, whether it was artistically, musically, whatever it was in their life. It was a whole variety of people. And the message was, don't wait. Don't wait to be who you are. Don't worry about what people think. Just be who you need to be. Whatever that is, whether it was a large change in life, whether it was a small change, whether it was just internal and embracing things. One of the things that, if nothing else, you take away from what I'm talking about today, I just want to say it a little more in front as opposed toward the end of my talk, is that a lot of people are offended by things. A lot of people, you hear it all, "I'm so offended. I'm so offended." And you're entitled to be as offended as you want. It is a tough way to live, and it is even harder on your loved ones and on some of your friends who don't call quite as much as they used to. If you are perpetually offended, people are going to avoid you, but that's your choice. But what you also have to know that almost everything that offends you does not harm you. Right? You may not like it. That's a choice. You might enjoy being offended, because I know people, they wouldn't be doing it so much if they didn't enjoy it. But almost nothing that offends you harms you. But when you try to limit the rights of those who offend you, you're harming them. And I was thinking about this a lot in the Torah portion, and I'll come to the verse in a couple moments, but I was thinking a lot, particularly just about what people wear and the judgment we make and the restrictions about them. When you think about women's clothing, how much of it was designed to limit them physically? Horseback riding on a regular saddle is almost impossible in those petticoats and whatever, the layers and layers. And it was probably just as well because the corsets they were forced to wear almost killed them while they were walking. Swimwear for women. Do you know how many women drowned? Literally drowned because of the bathing suits they were forced to wear. Layer upon layer upon layer. Bicycle riding. You had to have a modified bicycle, a lady's bicycle, and it had to have the appropriate handlebars because you couldn't lean over. Only men can do this. Women have to do this. It's kind of arbitrary, but it's very limiting. And if women wore the wrong clothing, they were considered to be, well, we're in a shul, but really inappropriate words for women that you shouldn't be using, period. Right. Or if they chose to wear what was considered to be women's clothing, they were called tomboys. Right? If you weren't dressed feminine and you didn't engage in womanly or girlish activities, you were a tomboy. Right? It's a diminishing of identity. I know that there were so many issues about women wearing pants in synagogue. Right? Because that was considered to be men's clothing. But there are a lot of reasons to wear pants. One is you might like pants. I know I do. You might have body image issues. You might like pants. It's nobody's business, but I still get calls to this day, is it okay if I wear pants to synagogue? I think that's sad to think that we would ever not want you here under any circumstance with whatever you're wearing. School dress codes are the worst. The amount of time spent about what young women are supposed to wear, because dress codes are never about boys. They are never about boys. It's always about girls, and girls knowing that middle-aged guys are staring at them. If there is anything creepier than that, I'm not sure what it is, but it's got to stop. At a place I worked at, I was asked to enforce certain dress codes. You go have a talk with that person. Now, it happened to be there was this guy there he was a great student, great guy, but he liked to push things a little bit. So he showed up in a sarong, a long cotton print, essentially a skirt, and he was wearing an Angora sweater. And it was, if I remember correctly, it was a rust-colored sweater and a green sarong. Now, this actually is important. So, you go talk to him about what he's wearing. I said, all right, I'm gonna go talk to him. Cotton and Angora, really? And that color green with that color rust, come on. You gotta match the textures, and the colors need to communicate a little better. Right now, everything is kind of fighting. Next time, I expect better. So I came back to the person and told me to do that. He's like, did you talk to him about his outfit? And I'm like, yeah, I did. Which was accurate. So next week he comes in, his hair is glued into spikes. You go talk to him. So I said, look, the glue you're using is going to kill your roots. They make a water-soluble one that'll just shampoo right out, and you'll thank me when you're older. Did you talk to him? I sure did. But again, with the women though, it was far worse. They wanted to measure and this, and it was so humiliating in so many ways. When I meet with couples about getting married, I say to them, if you are old enough to get married, you're old enough to pick out your outfit. Because like, what do I have to wear? Does this have to be covered? That have to be covered? It's like, you're making the biggest decision in your life. You're old enough to get married. You can pick out your own clothes. And occasionally people are offended. And again, enjoy being offended. Oh, I hope your life is so good that these are the things that offend you. I'm glad everything else is so great that you have the bandwidth to worry about these things. And why I'm talking about this in particular today is there's a verse in our Torah portion that says, Lo yachli gever al isha v'lo yilbush gever simlat isha ki toavat Adonai. And this is the basis of what is known as beged ish, of men's clothing, that women are forbidden from wearing and men are forbidden from wearing women's clothing. And it says that a woman shouldn't put on what is known as kli gever. Kli gever actually doesn't mean clothing, it means weaponry. But it's like pretending to be something that you're not. And a man shouldn't wear the simlat isha, he should not wear the clothing of a woman. But Rashi, in the Middle Ages, has a really interesting take on this. He says that it has nothing to do with what you wear, or what you choose to wear, or how you choose to ornament yourself or your outfits. It has to do with, are you trying to hide who you are among other people? And that's the abomination. Right? It's not the wearing of the clothing. And so Rashi says that if a man dresses like a woman in order to, say, infiltrate the harem so he can have his way with them, that's what the Torah is talking about. Right? If a woman dresses as a man in the same way in order to fool men for the purpose of inappropriate activity, that's what the issue is. But it had nothing to do with what you choose to actually wear, because clothing is clothing, and styles change and things change. And I think we have to think about, all these limitations we put on people is, what if people don't want to be limited? Men's clothing is limited too, in a way. It's supposed to signify that we're ready for action, that we're ready for power. What if people don't want power and action? What if people don't want to be limited? What if they just want to live their lives and be comfortable with who they are, and just want to know that society will love them for just who they are, not just who they have to pretend to be in order to fit in? And what if people just want to explore? People experiment with all sorts of things. I had students ask me, what do I think about experimenting with drugs? I said, the research has been done. We don't really need your data. So I said, so you're going to go home, you're going to do a double-blind controlled study, and you're going to write up all your results for a peer-reviewed journal. Is that what you're asking me? So there are way worse things than experimenting with clothes, experimenting with your identity, trying to figure out who you are. I cannot emphasize enough, because it really does create devastation for people. My being offended doesn't mean I get to make laws about who you get to be. I'm entitled to my opinion, but what I am not allowed to do is turn your life upside down because I don't like it. And almost everything that offends you does not hurt you. And you have to ask yourself why you're so offended, why you're angry. There are plenty of things that offend me. And I try to be aware of it, and I try almost all the time to keep my mouth shut about it, but I ask myself, what can I do just to make sure that people can live their lives in a way that is safe and comfortable and healthy? And there are people out there who do harmful things, and there should be laws against doing harmful things, but almost everything that is being suggested nowadays about people's identity has to do with being offended, not with being actually harmed. So I really think that people should dress for the weather. People should dress for their own sense of style, or I can tell you lack of it. I mean, nobody here. Where for comfort, it is nobody's business but their own. What the Torah really asks us more than anything else is to understand that all people want ultimately is to live in dignity, not by changing who they are, but because of who they are. Shabbat Shalom.